everyone. How's everybody doing? I hope everyone is okay and healthy at home. I'm today again in another edition of the interviews for Traveling with Your Passion. And tonight I'm going to have a great choreographer called Adam Blake. He's a very young choreographer that brought kind of a new style into skating. He does this mix with hip hop and other styles which are super cool and very different. He has choreographed for Disney on Ice, for the Ringling Brothers, which is very interesting, as they did an ice show. And he was the choreographer, and as well, he choreographed for the opening ceremonies of the Worlds in 2016. So let's have him over with his glass of wine. There we go. Let's see. There you are. Oh,
hi.
Cheers.
Cheers.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, like suffering with Instagram stuff. But hopefully I'm so bad with all this, and I just try, and they told me it's having some problems with the recording, so I was like, so great.
Oh no, yeah. So yeah, I have it screen grabbed, so we should be good to go.
Perfect. How's your day? Everything okay over there?
Yeah, it was great. So today I worked with a synchronized skating team, the Lexettes this morning, and then after that I did some work on a class that I was taking with that choreography, and then after that I went for a little ride on my motorcycle today. It was a beautiful day today, so I spent like an hour on the bike, so it was really a lot of fun.
I'm so jealous that you're so free. We're locked in here. We cannot do anything. So you can go on the ice rink there?
No, we can't go to the ice rink. But I was able to just like get on the motorcycle and just go around for a bit. So it was really fun. And so
cool. So these combos that you were telling me, you just mentioned you were doing something on ice for synchronized, right?
Well, for the synchronized skating team right now, they're meeting over Zoom. So we're meeting over virtually. So I've been teaching a lot of my classes via this app called Zoom, and you can have up to over 100 people attend these classes virtually. And so I was working with the team, so they're all in their houses and they're all doing all that stuff. And while I'm here in my, my apartment, that's my little dance studio right there. And so, yeah, so that's all set up in the apartment. So it's really fun to have that.
Awesome. A mirror. I would love to have a mirror.
Oh, it's great. It's great. It's a wonderful space to just work and to figure stuff out. And it's really, really just a great space.
That's great. There's Simone.
Hello, Simone.
She's watching every interview. It's great. And helping me. She's kind of the agent here, getting all the stars.
Oh,
she's awesome.
The best. She's the absolute best.
Absolutely. So are you working, like, is it the national synchronized team?
So there's well, the team that I worked with today was the juniors. So it was the junior team called Lexettes. They've been Team USA for a bit. They compete internationally. Their senior team is Haydenettes. So Haydenettes have been competing. They've been national champions for, I think, 28 time national champions. And so I work with them, and so, but this was the junior team that I was working with today, so it was a lot of fun.
That's cool. So, so you do a lot of dancing, no?
Yes. So, the styles that I like to take from for figure skating is usually hip hop and a lot of different type of animation styles. So I'm working on a little bit more of isolating styles, which is really, really cool. I've been taking a lot of classes recently because of the whole, quarantine thing and everything is sort of shut down. Exactly. Like I've a lot of my favorite choreographers have been teaching classes. Rhapsody James, who choreographs for Beyonce, is one of my favorite choreographers, and I get to take her class every week. Kenichi Kazumatsu, who is just this genius mover, and I'm one of the worst ones in the class, but hopefully I'm getting better. So
but that's great, right? It's one of the sides this horrible time we're going through, that like we all have access now to everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Together, hasn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, it sort of puts it into perspective of if this were to happen, you know, about 10 years ago, and we wouldn't have this, you know, technology, but we're so lucky that we have this technology that can connect everybody together, and we can use this time to learn and grow from artists and brilliant people that are sort of almost giving their genius for free, and like, you know, or for a price that's, you know, that would never happen.
It's more
And
real, yeah.
it's crazy and it's amazing, and I love I just love having the access to that information just at the palm of my hand.
Well, it's good
Literally
that
in
you're
the palm
taking
of my hand.
literally. Yeah, it's good that you're taking advantage, you know, because this is a time to be smart with it.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
Otherwise, 3 months goes by and you're like, oh, I didn't do anything in all this time. So
Right,
that's
right. Like it's one of those things where, you know, just taking advantage of it and just using the time, and, you know,
yeah,
we're thinking about
definitely.
we might be getting a dog. So like, you know, we have the time for it. So
Yeah. So tell me, you started skating, or you started dancing, or you started both? How did this
um
fusion became your thing?
so I started skating when I was about I started skating at around age 3. Like that was the first time I was on the ice. It was a really, really young age. And I started with hockey, and then when I wasn't the best hockey player, my dad sort of pulled me out and had me go into figure skating, and I hated it. I didn't want to figure
Ah,
skate at all. I thought it was, you know, I didn't think it was tough enough. And then I found a best friend who was just this really cool guy, and we just started skating together and started, like, you know, playing around with different stuff and different jumps and different types of things. And then with dance, I started dancing when I was about I actually started dancing a little bit late. I was about 10 or 12 when I started
mhm.
dancing. It was more ballet and modern and all that stuff. Like I took a lot of modern. And then with hip hop stuff, I didn't start taking that until I was about 15 or 16. And I wasn't telling my parents that I was taking dance classes at that time. I actually would I would uh, ask my parents for lunch money, but secretly I would pack a lunch, and I would use
Ah,
that lunch money to pay for my hip hop classes. So
why? They
yeah.
didn't let you? They didn't
Oh
like
no,
you
no, no.
to
It's because I was already really busy with, you know, figure
oh,
skating and with a whole bunch of other stuff. They didn't want more things piled on,
yeah.
but I really wanted to dance, so I pretended that, you know, I needed lunch money, and so that's how I paid for my hip hop dance classes. So
Okay.
so yeah.
So so like naturally you were very, from what you're telling me now, you were very you know, going for the search of different, because when you
Yes.
start speaking to your friend, you didn't go through the normal path. You were looking for different moves on the side.
Absolutely, absolutely. I always wanted to do different styles of movements on the ice. I don't want to, uh, even when I was younger, I always liked just the new styles that with like the different types of ISOs, with the different types of things that were just really weird and really cool. And I wanted to sort of take that onto the ice because, you know, while I'm a huge, it took me actually a couple of years and to be a big fan of the basics of like pure skating, which I am now. I'm a
Okay.
massive fan of, you know, beautiful, pure skating in its simplest form. But I always like to find ways to uh, to make it different and make it unique, and because there's so many different options to do on the ice, and like there's so many innovators like Gary Beacom and Le Patin Libre that have, you know, done this sort of like creative work, and
Mhm.
it's really cool to watch, like, you know, those originators be different, and then from there finding your own voice to, you know, try different stuff.
Of course, that's awesome. So have you started? You started. How old are you? You're young.
I'm 32. No,
Okay,
31. I'm 31. I'm
you're
31.
very young. I think we're younger even. You look younger.
No,
Um,
yeah. No, I think it's the purple
so,
hair. And so
so you don't see the white.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I have a
so
little bit
like
of white.
a little bit. Well, in
Yeah.
a guy, it's fashion. You know, it's okay. It looks good. Fashion. You started choreographing not too long ago? How long was it when you did your first job without?
Well, I first started choreographing, like I first started getting interested in the choreography side of things when I was about 20, no, probably about 19. 19, I was really starting to get into sort of playing around with, my friends who were skaters and messing around with group numbers, messing around with group choreography. And so it was about like when I was 20, or no, sorry, 19. And my first choreography job was in 2015. And that was my actual first choreography job, was the assistant choreographer for Disney on Ice Presents Frozen. And so that was a cool experience.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Were you working for Disney as a skater at the time?
Yes. So I was working with Disney as a skater, and I just got a call. Like I would produce these things called in shows, and in shows are
Yes.
yeah, they're little
Yeah.
production numbers that you can put together with your friends and all that stuff. And I was producing, like 4 different in shows a year, 4 big giant group numbers, all with different styles, different ranges, and constantly applying. And then one day, like they just what was it? Jay Vaught, who is senior director of ice operations, came in and he said, "Do you want to be assistant choreographer?" And I said yes. So yeah,
Ooh.
it was fun. It was so that was my first job, and it was a lot. It was a lot. I learned a lot through that. I learned. I think the biggest thing that I learned from all of that, like the biggest lesson that I could learn, was not to get married to anything, is that everything changes and anything can and will change. And so to just go with the flow and like be accepting to change, and to be accepting to
Don't be too personal, because
exactly that, never take
it
it
does get
personally.
like that, right?
Yeah, never
It's
take
your
it too personally.
yes, and it's your baby, and you pictured it like this, but then the director comes and says, no, that doesn't work with the lights.
Exactly.
It's like, but yeah,
Yeah,
you
and
have to.
it's one of those things where it has to, like, I mean, I have to look at like the person who wants it to change or anything like that, and I have to see it from their point of view and be like, okay, cool. So you want it this way? All right, absolutely, we can do that. And if like I usually if a change comes by, and if given good direction and all that stuff, it's just like, yeah, okay, we can roll with it, and it can, in a lot of the times it becomes better. So, and better than what, because not one person can create, I mean, some people can create beautiful pieces of art, but some of the most beautiful things are created through collaborations and
Yes,
through
absolutely.
teamwork. So
Yes, absolutely. Especially, in these companies that the directors have so much experience.
yeah,
They
absolutely.
have the
And
eyes so sharp, like, change this, and you're like, no, and then you change it, and it's like, yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, a lot of the times, their ideas are very valid. Their idea and their suggestions and their changes, they come from a place of a deeper meaning. And so it's really, really cool to, be able to collaborate, and you learn from that. You learn from those notes, and you learn from those changes of what they like and what's working. And so it's cool.
And how was it? I want to know about the opening ceremony of the Worlds.
Ah, yeah, that was cool.
How many people did you have to choreograph there?
It wasn't. It was. Oh God, how many people?
It
Well,
was
we
like,
had we had a solid group of core skaters. So the core skaters for that was about, I'd say, 24 skaters, and then we had some kids that I worked with there, and then we had and then I think that was it. So it was about like, but like the numbers themselves were great. The director for that was Melanie Lambert, and she did a fantastic job of coordinating and having a great vision on it. And she really, really gave me a lot of trust, and like letting me do the things that I wanted to do. There was this one number, my favorite number that we did in it was this shipping off to Boston, because it was Worlds in Boston, and it was kind of this punk rock, kind of like hard, edgy sort of a number, and it was everything that I wanted it to be. And so like, it's definitely, if you, I think it's available on YouTube, but if you watch it, it's very my style, like gritty and punchy and like just very rock, which is really fun.
That's cool. That's a nice experience, right?
Yeah, it was great. And like to be able to perform at the TD Garden as myself, like, because I actually did get to perform in it, but to actually have my work at the TD Garden and with a huge crowd, massive crowd, and with, yeah, just being out there, being me was really cool versus the times when I was with Disney, I would have to be, you know, a character or something like that. But being myself for that first time, it was just like, it was really awesome. It was really a lot of fun.
Which character do you have? Did you have like a main character in Disney?
I did. I was really good friends with the genie on on Disney, and it was a lot of fun. So like yeah, we had a great time, and I also had a lot of fun as the sergeant from Toy Story. And I got to be Shang for a little bit, so that was really cool.
That's cool. That's fun. Tell me about the Ringling Brothers. I'm interested in that one because they did an ice show, right?
Yes, they did an on ice show, and that was an experience in itself. Like that was crazy. So they had part of the show was on land because you had to have that. The center ring was the was floor, so you could have, you know, the lions and the tigers, and then you had this family that of motorcyclists that were in the globe and all that stuff. But the people that I worked with were I worked with a lot of freestyle skaters, which is a cool new style of skating, and hockey skates, and they're doing breakdancing stuff. And then I also worked with this troupe called the Heilongjiang troupe, and they're from China, and they're these acrobats that learned how to skate. And so they're doing just the craziest stuff where, you know, you have like a little girl on these two guys' hockey gloves, and they'll skate around in a circle, and then they'll chuck her in the air, and she'll do a double backflip, and then they'll catch her. And and then they did like 3-man highs where two boys would be on top of two boys, and then they'd launch the little girl up, and then it'd be a 3-person high.
And they're skating on this?
And they're skating. Like they're skating as they're doing that. It was
it's
crazy.
Just Chinese. Only Chinese can do these things. It's insane what they do.
It was nuts. And they were doing like jump rope stuff. They were doing all these crazy acts. And so, and they didn't really speak English. So it was a lot of fun to sort of, I learned how to count to 8 in Chinese.
I was just gonna ask you. You have to.
I know choreographic Chinese. I can count to 8. I can say good job. I can do up, down, left, right, good job, and do it again. And so like I can.
How do you say good job?
Good job. Hen hao. Yeah. Hen hao.
I like
it. So.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and then sara bien. Like, but yeah, I'm a master at counting to 8 in Chinese. So.
Yes. They're just sound.
Yeah. Anything past 8, I have no idea, but I can count to 8.
No, I learned up to 10.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, more than that. I was going to ask you something. Did I hear right? Like, I heard that there was somebody skating on a handstand? Yeah.
There were hand stilts. So what you would do is, you know, those little blocks that people have in the circus that they can do all these hand balancing. Yeah, they basically attached blades to them, and then from there they would put them down, and then they would do handstands and hand balancing and all that stuff. There was this one girl that was just like crazy good at everything, and she was the one that did that. She was also the one that was being chucked in the air doing double backflips, and she was also the one. She was very busy. And
who wants to do her?
Yeah, exactly. And she was like 12. So yeah. So.
Oh my God! And did you tour with them, or you just put the choreography and?
No, I just helped. Everything that was on the ice, I did. So anything that was an ice sort of choreography or ice movement, I did. So so it was mainly the Chinese troupe. So I mainly choreographed the Chinese troupe, and then it was really cool. I also became because I ride a unicycle as well, and I've ridden the unicycles on the ice. There was this troupe called the King Charles Troupe. It's an all African American troupe that grew up in the Bronx, and they're unicyclists, but they play basketball. And so when we originally had the idea for them to ride their unicycle, have special unicycles made where they can ride on the ice. And so I became their, so we would put studs on them. So I became their on ice unicycle coach. So I would teach them how to ride unicycles on the ice. It was really cool. So I got to ride with the King Charles Troupe for a little bit, which was like a pretty big honor. So I was really excited about that.
That's great. That's awesome. Very nice experience, that one too.
Yeah.
So with Disney, I guess you travel a lot with Disney.
Yes. Disney took me all over the world. I went to, Japan with Disney. I went to a lot of places, or all over Europe. So Spain, France, Portugal, the Canary Islands, Ireland, Scotland, and Australia. Where else with it? Germany, and then a lot of Central and South America. So I did Mexico, Costa Rica, Panama, Argentina, and then it was a lot of fun. Peru, like it was great.
Yeah, it's a good company for like traveling.
Absolutely for travel. It's incredible.
Did you share by any chance with Robin and Andy any contract?
Robin and Andy actually auditioned me. Yeah, Robin and Andy auditioned me for my first when I was 17 or 18 years old. Robin and Andy were the two people that auditioned me, and so they were two of the first people that I met on Disney on Ice as professional skaters. Well, they were the first two active professional figure skaters that I met. That's
cool. Where did you audition?
I auditioned in Knoxville, Tennessee, where I first grew up. Yeah.
And you got it right away?
I did. I got High School Musical from there. So I was on tour with High School Musical for 2 years, and yeah, it was fantastic.
Were you with Alex Murphy?
I was not. Alex was on so there were 3 companies. There was D28 A, B, and C. Alex was on C. I was on A. And
okay, I'm linking everybody.
Yeah. But I've worked with Alex many times. Alex was on was in the cast for the opening ceremonies for Worlds, and yeah, I've worked with Alex before. Yeah, she's fantastic. And Alex actually did the show that I produced when I was so I did this rock concert show that I directed, choreographed, and produced, and Alex was in that show, and she was just fabulous. Just amazing.
Very, very expressive. That's cool. So, like, do you like traveling? Is there a part of the job that you enjoy?
Oh my God, I loved it. I loved being in like just these different places. And one of the things that I loved to do when I was there, it was take dance class in those specific areas. So I got to take dance classes in New York and in LA, and I got to take dance class in Tokyo, which was really cool. And then I accidentally joined a Panamanian dance crew, which was fun.
Tell me that.
So, well,
I like the part of accidentally.
Yeah, accidentally joined a Panamanian dance crew. Basically what happened was I saw these, like I was in my hotel room and I look outside the window and I see all these people dancing outside this building, and I go and I check it out. And by that time, everybody sort of had left. And I go inside and I find out that it's a dance studio. I'm like, great, cool. I'd love to take class. And my Spanish being very limited, all I was able to say is like, I want to dance. Like, I would like to dance with you guys. And then they said, okay, well, dance for us. And so I didn't realize that was my audition, but it was an audition. And so I did a little dance. I, did all that stuff. And then I was allowed to take class, but it wasn't until I started being lifted, where I was being put into formations and somebody was going underneath me and lifting during a crump number. I was like, Okay, I think I'm in a little bit deep on this one. So for 2 weeks, I was being put into choreography for a Panamanian dance crew, which
That
was
is
a
so
lot of
cool.
fun.
And where did you perform? Like on the street?
I didn't get to perform with them.
Oh,
I just learned some of the numbers, and they
which is
just
the
blocked
best.
me into certain things, and it was really fun. It was such a fun little time, like just being with them and learning choreography in Spanish, which is really fun. I try to do that. Like I take a class from a guy named Cesar Segovia, and
Uh-huh.
and learning choreography in a different language is really fun and really complex. So it's cool. It's cool to be able to do
Yeah.
that.
Like your brain has to be
Exactly. And you sort of put things
200%
together.
on it.
Yeah.
Not only the skills, but the
Yeah.
language. Do you
Yeah.
remember any phrases in Spanish? How you say I want to dance?
I don't uh me gusta bailar or something or
Yes,
yeah.
yes. I like to dance. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Very
Yeah,
good.
and then but all I know is like the cinco, seis, siete, ocho, and then going right into like that's what I remember, like cinco y seis y siete. Like so,
Yes.
yeah, super
And
fun.
that's cool. Which place from all that you have been is the one you like the most?
Um, well, I'm gonna have to like, yeah, it
I
is.
can give you two.
It
You
is
can have
Buenos
two.
Aires. It is though. It is Buenos Aires. Like I love it. I love Buenos Aires. Cheers to that. No, seriously. Like,
Yes, yes.
mm.
Well, you have a home here anytime you want to come.
Oh, thank you. No, I love Buenos Aires. Like it was such a beautiful beautiful city, and it was one of those things where there's a lot of cities that you can really tell that have you walk the streets and it's like you're walking on like a vein of somebody, like you can feel the pulse and you can feel a heartbeat. And I've only experienced that with a couple of cities like Sevilla, Spain, Buenos Aires, and uh, Ireland, Dublin, Ireland. So, but you could really feel that there's energy in the streets, and when you're walking on it, that it's a breathing community, and it's just so cool. Like I had so many fun experiences in Buenos Aires that and I was watching Robin and Andy talking about, and I think they said something about the steaks in Buenos Aires, like,
Yes,
and
yes.
there's no comparison. You can't like we try to do steaks here in the States, but it doesn't work, you know. Like I had the best steaks of my life in Cordoba. Like so but like
You went to Cordoba too.
yeah,
This is
yeah.
tours in Cordoba. It's
Oh yeah.
fun, Cordoba.
Yeah, it was really, really fun. And
And
so
the wine? Did you like the wine?
oh the one and it's cheap too.
I know. This is something that it's so bizarre because like everything here always goes up in price.
Hmm.
Obviously the wines do too. But you can find cheaper wine than bread.
Yeah,
So
it's the
it's,
craziest thing. Like,
it's just like
$16 for a full bottle of wine and steak dinner for two people. Like, I mean, like what? Like it's crazy.
well, I think if you come now that the change has
Hmm.
even go lower, I
What?
think you pay five. Yeah, oh yeah, no,
Oh
no.
my
When do you come?
God, that's crazy. Why
When
am
did
I
you come?
quarantining here? And so,
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, no, now it's like super, super
oh
cheap for
wow.
foreigners. Yeah, it's such a shame you cannot fly anywhere, but when they
Right.
can, you should come over and have
Absolutely.
some.
Oh my God, I love Buenos Aires. I would in a heartbeat. Oh, it's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Where did you take dance classes here?
Not in Buenos Aires, but funny enough, I did get to dance while I was in Buenos Aires. Like there was a fun incident where we
You're
were
always involved in accidental incidents with
oh,
dancers.
completely, completely. So there was when I was about like maybe from about 18 years old to about 23, I had this massive obsession with Michael Jackson. I loved Michael Jackson. And I knew most of his choreography. I knew Thriller, I knew Smooth Criminal, I knew all these fun little pieces. And we were walking that main street on your way to Luna Park, like there's that one big long street.
Florida.
Yeah,
Is it Florida?
and we were walking down, and you know, there's these break dancers that get on that that perform there at night. But then there was this Michael Jackson impersonator that came on, and he was amazing, and he was so much fun. But it was Smooth Criminal that started to play. So I mean, I started to you know, I started to do the choreography along, like, little like
Yeah.
alongside of it, just like the littlest like bit of it. And then he saw me and he says, okay, what do you know? And I was like, well, I know this one and I know Thriller. And he was like, okay, Thriller. And so so somebody gets my phone, and I get to perform Thriller with him and his backup dancers, like, to a crowd of Argentinian bystanders. It was crazy.
Ooh, that's fun. Yeah, that street is fun because you have lots of shows,
Hmm.
street art.
Yeah, it was super fun. Like, to be able to dance with a Michael Jackson impersonator on the streets of Argentina, like, that's really
Right?
cool. Like, it was
Nice
super fun.
story. Yeah, that's cool. That's what traveling gives you, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Lots
yeah,
of
it just gives you fun opportunities to just, you know, do random stuff and just meet up with random and cool people. Like, it was just a lot of fun.
Is there a place that you will say is the weirdest or the oddest that skating took you to?
Oof. Yeah, plenty. Um,
No one,
Plenty.
many.
Yeah, many,
Well, you can
many
give me
that are just
shortly.
like that you I mean, there are places that I would never go back to. Like, even
Okay.
if I'm just driving through, I just drive straight through them. I'm sorry if anybody's from Wheeling, West Virginia. I will drive right through that city and never look
Really?
back. And so, but strange. I don't know, as far as, I'm not sure as far as strange, but like, I know, like, I loved, one of the great things that I was able to do is have these individual experiences while I was traveling by myself. So,
Okay.
for instance, like in Barcelona, I was able to go to Sagrada Familia, and they were out of English tours, and I had to go do my tour in Spanish, which was cool. And, you know, and so so whenever they were like, whenever like there were some words that I was like, they were talking about the beams, and then they said like arbor, and I was like, oh, they're trees, the beams look like trees. And then, so, like, you know, so,
Speaking
but
some stuff.
yeah, so it was fun. Like, and I think you get to really find the interesting parts to the cities when you're by yourself, like when you're
Okay.
just looking by yourself. Actually, so Simone says go with unusual.
Unusual,
If
yes.
I were to go with unusual, I would say Berlin. I would say Berlin is like
Mm.
unique. Well, I'm not sure about unusual, but unique, where
Right.
it's, you find all walks of life that are just coexisting with each other, and it's the coolest thing. It's because, like, yeah, I speak Simone, Adam speaks German.
Just like throwing all the subtitles, thinking.
I
You
love it.
speak German?
I do speak German.
Wow.
I learned it in high school, and then I did a foreign exchange for a
Okay.
bit when I was 16 years old. I went to Germany and I lived there for a little bit. And then it was funny, when I was actually I was 15. When I was 15, I went to the Autostadt in Wolfsburg. So, like, in that Volkswagen headquarters, we went on a school trip, and then a couple of years later, Simone
You're
and I are
performing.
choreographing the shows over in Wolfsburg, and it was just the most surreal thing. I was like, I remember when I first got there, it was Simone and I were walking into the park, and I go, I know this place. I know this, like, and so, and then I
Just
started dancing
run.
on these little fountain buttons. Simone will remember that. So, like,
And
I'm like I'm a 32-year-old, 31-year-old child. So, like,
try.
but she knows
But
that.
that's what you have to be an artist.
Yeah,
It's like,
absolutely.
otherwise you lose the magic.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Berlin, I heard from many people. It's funny because I've been working in Germany for like 3 years now,
Hmm.
and I never managed to go to Berlin because it's a little bit far from where I work, and I don't
Hmm.
have enough time. but everybody that went, they all say that it's weird. It's like special. In
Oh
that sense.
yeah,
There's lots of cultures.
yeah,
Maybe it's like in New York or something like that.
well, New York is very busy. New York is very busy. It's a lot of people going back and forth on the streets, and people do not pay you any mind, and it's just like this. Whereas Berlin, people are stopped. People are enjoying a day here, or it's just or there's like a art installation over here, or there's this group of a group of people that are experimenting with different styles of things. Like it's crazy. It's so diverse, and it's just so accepting of so many different types of cultures, which is really cool.
That's cool. No, because when I was in really close by to Cologne,
Mm-hmm.
and Cologne is very open-minded as well. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's one of the more gay-friendly cities as well. And I don't know, from my idea of Germany, I would have never thought this welcoming, right? Because we have like a preconcept, and then when you get there, they're very open.
Oh yeah,
they're very open, sense, and like nobody cares about what the other one is doing. And
it's almost celebrated. I mean, that what was it? Simone said avant-garde. Like, I mean, that avant-garde lifestyle is so accepted, and it's so and it's normal, and it's celebrated, and I think it's really cool that it's very it's beyond its time, so which is really cool.
That's nice. Which one would you say was the most unusual food you've tried when you're traveling?
Oh, I got one for that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in Peru.
Hold on.
Oh.
You need to put a pause and have a drink, because I've been drinking all these, and I'll let you drink it. So have a sip. Let's catch up. All right.
Absolutely. So the most unusual food that I've ever the most unusual one was in Peru, and it was the koi, and so apparently it was like the delicacy there. It was the most expensive thing on the menu. It wasn't that expensive, but it was guinea pig, and so it was yeah.
You knew that before you ate it?
I well, yeah, and so but. It was one of those things of, when in Rome, try stuff. And so we tried it, and yeah, there's a story to go along with it, but I don't know if it's one that, but yeah, it was, basically came out on a plate looking like this. And so, but it was not a lot of meat there, but it's what they ate. And so we tried it, and yeah.
Was it tasty?
There was not a lot there. Like, it was very gamey. Like, it was just not a lot. Like, and so I was like, okay, cool. And so, but that was the most unusual thing. Yeah, definitely unusual.
I never heard of guinea pig.
Yeah, guinea pig. They call it koi. The CUY or kui.
Okay.
Or some. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but.
Okay.
But
and besides our steak, which one was the food that you liked the most?
Oh, Japan all the time. Japan is my mother's Japanese, and so it's really, really so really? I'm always privy to Japanese food, but yeah, Japan is the best food on the planet. Yeah, and it's because it gives me a sense of nostalgia as well. Like, so when I eat it, like it's similar to what my mom cooks. So like, exactly, it's home. So and like, for some reason, even though I was born in Knoxville, Tennessee, going to Japan, where my mom is from, she's from an island called Okinawa. So
I love Okinawa.
Yeah,
that's my favorite place.
Yeah.
Yes.
My mother was born in Okinawa, and so you know that Okinawa smells like the sea. and there's that salt air that's always around wherever you go, and I always just love that air. Simone will tell you that I don't like beaches. I hate beaches because I get sand everywhere, and it's just, I don't like that feeling. But I love the salt air. The salt air is one of my favorite smells, like in the world.
It's holiday smell.
Yeah.
It relaxes you.
Exactly. Yeah, you know that when you smell that, you can breathe easy.
You can relax because you're on holiday.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny because when I was in Okinawa, I was with the ships a lot in Okinawa, and my roommate and I, we were used to get off the ship without having breakfast, buy a coffee on the street, and just go. You know, they have so many shops with cakes and sweets from Japan that they sell, and every single box has a little Tupperware in front with samples.
Yeah.
So we will go for breakfast for free in the samples shops. So we go to the coffee, just try all the bakery, all of it,
and then you're good for the day, or not for the day, but you're good for the morning. Yeah, absolutely.
And they have that special cake that they make that it has the hole in the middle. Do you remember? That is amazing. That is like a stick with butter layers, and it's like a roasted thing, right? And it builds up layers and layers and layers of butter, and amazing.
Oh, it's the best. Again, Japanese food, there's no comparison. It's the best.
I was surprised though to find so much bakery stuff. You know, I would never see, like, you know, relate Japanese with bakery.
Yeah, no.
And they have a lot of options.
There's a lot of options. There's actually a superhero in Japan based off of bread. And so, yeah. One of the most popular superheroes in Japan is his head is made of bread. He's called Unpan, because pan in Japanese means bread. So
pan, like in Spanish.
Yes, yeah.
Well, that's so weird. Like two cultures.
In Japanese, bread is pan.
Cool. Do you know we have ducks ate mum? Spent my first 5 years in Japan. Nothing smells like pan.
Oh no, yeah.
So we all agree.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah. I love it.
It's really nice. Have you stayed traveling after any of the tours? Did you stay in a place and go travel by yourself?
Yes. Well, actually, my girlfriend and I, we do, for instance, with the Wolfsburg contract, we usually stay after for about maybe 2 weeks or so, and then we go and gallivant across the UK. UK is one of my favorite places. I love London. I love Scotland, Edinburgh, and what was it? And her grandmother lives in Glasgow, so we make it a point to go and visit her grandmother. And but yeah, we stay back and we do a whole bunch of stuff. And what was it? The Peru story was with the koi was part of a backpacking trip where two of my friends and I, we backpacked Peru for
so did you go to Machu Picchu?
Yes, we did Machu Picchu. So we went to Cusco, we climbed Machu Picchu, we did Arequipa, we did a whole it was great. It was fantastic. And it was one of my favorite backpacking trips ever. Like, we just had everybody had two backpacks, and we went from hostel to hostel, and we have
so did you do, because I know I haven't gone to Machu Picchu. Is one of my to-do lists.
Oh, you have to.
No, I know. I'm dying to, but somehow I never have the time because I always have like maybe a month off. And the last thing I want to do is walk on a mountain. I just want to be like on a beach. But for example, now I could be going, but the airport is closed. Shame on me. When you went, did you do the whole walking thing, or you went?
No, we did the bus. We did the bus that went up. We didn't do the 4-day walk. Yeah, we were on a time.
Get up in 5 in the morning and you walk all the.
Yeah, so we I think so. We had a bus take us up, but then there was the bus take us up like the switchbacks all the way up to the top, and then we got out, and then we were able to go to that top peak where you can see all the way down to Machu Picchu. It was incredible. Like, it was one of the coolest. When you are walking towards Machu Picchu, when you first see it, there's this one side of the mountain, and you're coming in this way, and then you turn, And once you turn and you see the whole thing, it literally takes your breath away. You stop breathing for a second. You just come around that corner and and you can see this whole city where everybody just upped and left. And it's perfectly preserved. And you can see, it's literally like walking into somebody's house that they
That's
just left
amazing.
open. It was fantastic.
That's amazing. Did you go in Mexico as well to any of the ruins
I
like
didn't
that?
manage to make it to the ruins in Mexico. I forget what I was doing, but I was really young. I was about 18 when we went,
Yeah.
so I think I might have been. I was 18, and it was a break from a States tour, so I think I might have been like, I don't know, partying a little bit, but
Well, that happens like that, doesn't it?
what
Like
was that?
you start, it happens like that when you start touring. If you're young, at
Oh
the
yeah,
beginning,
yeah,
you're like,
yeah. Yeah,
party.
you party a little bit and then all that stuff, and then you start realizing, oh, we're going to some pretty cool places. I should go see them. And so,
Yes.
yeah,
And the more you start seeing, the more this feeling grows of wanting to see more.
absolutely,
Right?
100%.
Have you seen any of the other wonders of the world?
Um, let's see. So Machu Picchu. I don't think wonders. I haven't seen wonders, but I've seen what was it, Sagrada Familia?
Yeah.
Definitely made it out there. You know, the popular tourist destinations. I've seen a whole bunch of. But one thing that I do love to, instead of landmarks that I like to see, is I like to see culture. I like to see what the how another person's culture is different, like seeing a flamenco show in Sevilla, or going to you know, a climbing Mount Fuji, or doing something like that, like going in and really trying to experience what the one specific thing that city has to offer. If like I can only experience this in that city, I want to experience it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. The
it's
real, the real thing,
yeah,
not the tourist
exactly. Exactly.
side.
Like I want the authentic sort of thing. I want to go to a hole in the wall cafe, or a hole in the wall, you know, restaurant that, you know, that it sort of simulates and shows what, you know, the locals are doing. That was one of the things in Peru where we found they were drinking this um, purple bottle of purple liquid and all that stuff, and we were just like, what is that? And then it was just this homemade sort of um, corn wine or something like that, and or
Yes. What's the
cornmeal
name of that?
wine. and
I don't
and
remember.
so one of the locals just grabs a plastic bottle and fills it up for us, and so we were able to try it, and so it was really cool.
Was it super strong?
Actually, no, it was pretty weak. Like, it was actually not too strong. Um,
Okay.
but you know, I will have to say the Hungarians know how to make a good moonshine. I will say that.
Well,
That one.
the wine in Hungary is very nice, isn't it?
I've never been. I've never been, but I have a lot of friends that bring some stuff over.
Okay, so for your friends, let's do egészségedre.
Uh, mhm.
Do you have any hotels that you remember for a particular reason? Any stories of this hotel was amazing for this,
Um,
or we lost a plane in this hotel or something?
well, oh my gosh, a lot of fun stories that happen inside the hotels. One time we were in a hotel in Baltimore that we got snowed into, and we actually were snowed into the same hotel as a tattoo convention, and that was interesting. So there were a couple of castmates that came out with different artwork that when they came from when they entered the hotel. And then, you know, certain stuff, you know, when you get into a hotel and all of a sudden there's an anime convention going on, and then your friends have, you know, spare, you know, Street Fighter costume from Halloween, and then they go and they join the anime convention, or, you know, just crazy stuff like that. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. As far as like bougie and like fun hotels, you know, the Ritz at Wolfsburg is always fantastic. We also stayed at the Camino Real in Mexico, which was just a glorious hotel. And then, but the one where it was just like really pampered and really one of those things where it's just like, I don't know if I deserve this much is was in Qatar. And when we were in Qatar in the Middle East, and it was just so, all the principal skaters, we got our own room, and I had like, you know, beautiful vases in my room that separated this giant tub and this balcony with things, and it was just the biggest TV I've ever seen, and I'm just looking over and being like, I cool.
What do I do with this?
I'm a figure skater, and I'm staying in this right now. That's fun. And so, but yeah, so it was. I think Qatar was probably the most. I would say the most luxurious thing I've stayed in. So, but it was fun. You know, as a principal, we got our own room, and so I had it, and it was great. And for 2 weeks, you know, yeah, it was 2 weeks of me living like, you know, a king. So it was great.
That's amazing. Which one is the show you say you enjoy the most, either choreographing or performing?
I'll have to say like it was like, I mean, I love all the shows that I've worked on for many different reasons, and I love Disney because the fact that I get to you know, it was something that I grew up with, and I you know, worked with them from my start, and it was just a great experience. I love Wolfsburg because there is almost endless freedom. Simone and I get to create stuff that we want to create, and it's just such a great environment, and like the talent of the cast is always fantastic. But I do have to say, like, the most personal one was when I did my own show for what was it, where I had a live band on the ice, and I had what was it, and these skaters just sort of came, like I couldn't pay them much, and they came in, and it was this passion project that everybody worked on, and it was just, and it wasn't even the show that, like, when we were performing in front of an audience, it was creating it, and it was just this time where we could be free, and where we could where I remember the one time that was the most beautiful moment was when we were rehearsing with the band for the first time, and that was the first time, because we created our show to their album, to this band's album, and when we first started skating to them singing their own music live, it just became this rush of energy, and I don't think it, like, it was just, it was unreal, and I loved every second of that time. And yeah,
it's great when it happens that you have a team with passion and they're pushing
yeah,
for the same thing, you know, just for the love to art, and
yeah,
not for the
and
money or like job.
yeah, and I have to say that, I mean, I've been blessed with so many great teachers, like so many great teachers, like through, you know, through working. Like I there's no way that, like, no one can say that they've gotten to a place on their own. I've had the wonderful opportunity to have some of the greatest teachers that are out there that are working. And yeah, it's just it's really great, and I really owe them a lot. So
That's
yeah,
that's nice. That's nice that you can see that, no? Some people go through life thinking they deserve it instead
yeah,
of
yeah. Oh no,
like,
no, it's I think Simone said it in her interview with you. The moment that you stop learning, you're done. And yeah,
yeah.
it's completely true. Like, you know, like, you're always learning something from, there's nobody that uh there is not anybody that cannot teach you a lesson. Everyone can
Yeah.
teach you a lesson. Everyone can teach you a lesson. That's what I'm looking for. And so,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Okay.
yeah, everyone can teach you a lesson, no matter what their age is, no matter what their skill level is. Everyone can teach you a lesson.
That's very true. Is there something that you would love to do in your career? Something that you wish that it becomes true?
Um, I mean, I would love to work on the West End. That's one of my biggest dreams, is to work in London, like for something stage wise. Yeah, I just like, the world is just full of opportunities, and it's full of, you know, so many great great opportunities to learn and to grow. And like I feel like at the moment, like there's a couple of companies that I would really like to I'd really like to go a little bit further with ice, but also on land, like also
Okay.
floor stuff. Like
Which kind of shows in the West End? Would you like to be a
um
dancer? Would you like to be
I
a
would like
stars,
to
starlight
assist,
express?
well, assist in choreography, and there's a couple of artists right now that are choreographers that are very subversive in the way that they move, and they're not necessarily classically trained, but it's more theater movement and it's more theater based choreography that tells a really cool story and a really cool flow line. Stephen Hoggett is one of them. He choreographed for the American Idiot show. He also choreographed Curious Incident of a Dog in the Nighttime. He did the Harry Potter play, and his choreography and his movement is just so, it makes sense. Everything makes sense, but it's not rooted in any sort of technical, like it
Mhm.
doesn't look like it's rooted in like technical ballet or anything like that, but it's in theatrical, what makes sense and what does what everything is sort of like, what the story is driving at, so which is really cool.
That's cool. Do you sing?
Do I sing? I
Yeah.
I sometimes. um,
In the shower?
Sometimes it's a party trick sometimes that I do. Like I'll go to a karaoke bar and sing Conte Partiro, but like that's like sort of my go-to. But yeah,
That's perfect. Okay, that's good.
yeah.
Do you think, do you have like any mantras or any phrases that you use for inspiring you when you're down or when you need to push through
Um.
for a job or something?
Well, yes, I do. And hi, Sean. And so, but the what was it? The thing that I usually go back to is I actually learned this from a choreographer that I worked with on the circus, and he would always say, "Okay, great," like "Okay, comma, great," and you can take that phrase as a I can handle anything. Like, you know, if this person or if this one thing needs to change or anything, I'll okay, great, cool. And then it sort of switches the track so you don't linger on any sort of a problem, or you don't like or that nothing sort of like hits you too hard, that you can just sort of rebound and go into like how to make that work. And so sometimes, like if anything ever happens, or like, you know, we're at the end of a production meeting and, you know, all of a sudden this one number has to completely change because the producers don't like it, or this number has to be completely redone because this. Okay, great, cool, let's do it. You know, like it's one of those things to not just take that that as like a initial punch, which it is a punch, and you can feel it, and you can have that moment of like, oh God, but you know, at the end of the day, like, okay, great, cool, yeah,
To be open-minded to
to
work
be
in a team.
open-minded, exactly, yeah,
It means a lot. A single, like 2 words means a
yeah,
lot.
yeah, absolutely.
That's good. What do you think the pandemic can do for good for the world, for all of us?
um so much, so much, like the what was it, I love the fact that the earth is healing a little bit. Like, I mean, that's really great. I love the fact that for me personally, I got to take a break. It was starting to get tiring. It was starting to get, you know, I was starting to lose a little bit of the love that I had for, you know, choreography. It started to become more of going into the rink and doing all that started to become more of a day to day to day to day sort of a thing, and I started not loving it as much. And then it was during the pandemic, when it first started, I actually started taking a EMT course. So I learning about how to become an EMT, an emergency medical technician. And
Ooh.
from there, you know, studying that, I learned how much I really loved choreography. so, um, so,
Like,
um,
stop the
how
pandemia,
much
give me the hours
yeah,
back.
I mean, yes, I learned how to respond to somebody who's you know, having a hypoglycemic episode or something like that. I learned how to have those responses. But what my main takeaway is, I really love choreography. So,
Okay.
so yeah, it was one of those things, and now I'm teaching Zoom classes, and I get to take some Zoom classes from some of the best, which is incredible.
Wait a second, because again, I went over and it's gonna stop. So I'm gonna stop it and we come back.
Okay, great.
We're almost over.
Okay.
Just okay. I need like a massive clock here telling me you're over, you're over. I'm gonna ask you this one and then I have another question.
Okay.
What's the best and the worst of this lifestyle that we have as artists?
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll start with the worst. Worst part. Worst part of having a lifestyle of an artist is, I think, job security is hard. Like, job security is probably the hardest part of it. You know, but for a lot of people, for a lot of artists, like, job security is very, very hard. There are a lot of skaters right now that are completely out of work right now, and like they have no idea when they're going to come back, and you know, and it's like for a lot of skaters, like their career is canceled, is done. Like, I feel like there's a huge amount of support that's outpouring of support towards the artistic community, because it's so close knit, and because it's such a, you know, everybody sort of feels for one another. So like, it's great. The best thing about it is just the fact that I get to, like, you know, we get to live each day doing what we love, you know. Being in a class of, again, taking that course, you know, I was taking a course of finding out how to physically help people. And, you know, while I love that, and I love that idea that I can physically help another person, I can, you know, I have tools that can help save, that can really help people, physically help people that need it.
That's a quality.
Yeah, you know,
discipline, stubbornness, however you want to call it.
Absolutely.
It's a quality, and that's very precious to have as whatever, not only as an artist, as any professional, you know, to hard work for whatever you want to get as good as you can.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you very much. You're lovely, and I hope you keep growing as you've been. I'm sure you will. And it's nice to see somebody with such a resume so young that still has that concept of, you know, working hard to achieving something, instead of like, well, I already choreographed this and that. So that's really an example for all of us.
Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate that. Love you, Simone.
She's there, yeah. Love you, Simone. Me too. Okay, amigo. Thank you so much.
Thank you
cheers.
So much. Cheers. Yeah.
For this nice Saturday together.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope to hear more great projects coming from you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much. Okay. I can't wait for more of your interviews. I'm really excited. This is a really fun series.
Yes. I have some interesting people coming up, as I've had so far. It's been amazing. I'll just keep going. It's so much fun.
Oh, so much fun. Okay. All right. Yes. Thank you again for having me.
See you. Bye. Well, everybody, thank you for joining. And I hope you enjoyed it. His literally example work. And I'm not going to tell you who I'm going to have next Tuesday, but it's very, very cool. As much as him and everybody that I had so far. So don't miss out on next Tuesday guest, and have a very nice weekend. Thank you. Cheers.